Welcome to another Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous, and today I'm going to start the show from inside the hangar, and there's a big reason for this, and it's the whole Derek Smart controversy that's taking the Star Citizen media by storm, and it has kicked off quite a number of threads on Reddit, inside our forums, and external forums as well. Derek Smart's a game developer. He's also someone that likes to stir the pot and cause a lot of controversy. He's had a blog where he's been very boisterous, very openly critical of Chris Roberts and Cloud Imperium Games and the way they handle their business, pointing out things like people leaving money, trying to talk about the grand scale this game is and how nobody could ever make this game and they're still continuing to sell virtual goods. And his point is that this game is going to be a train wreck in the end, and that it's not just the Guinness Book of World Records for the most crowdfunding ever collected for a game, which was 39 million, but it's also going to be the biggest train wreck of a game. So when I read his blog, I get it's almost like he feels a little bit like he's made this personal. Like there must have been some interaction between him and Cloud Imperium Games that set him off on this path. Now, I, being a person in the media, believe that anybody is entitled to their own opinions, and if they can show their opinions through fact and through sources of their own, then hey, let it go. You know, it's good to hear both sides of the story. His side of the story, though, is starting to build, or starting to latch on to the feeling of things not getting done, like to the people that are concerned, to the people that are starting to worry, people losing confidence. And it really is starting to take root inside of our community. Now, it's tough for me to step back and be as non-critical as I've been, because I've been trying to give CIG a lot of leeway. Because I'm one of the few people that have looked at this game from the perspective of it being grand and taking forever from the beginning. The only thing I expected to be out on a timeline was Squadron 42, which is the game on rails. Of course, those rails go in multiple different directions, but that's the type of game that I signed on for from Chris Roberts, because I'm a Wing Commander fan, a Privateer fan, a freelancer, you understand what I'm saying. I want that full scripted campaign. I want to play it. I want to enjoy that type of universe. Kind of like I love playing through games like Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect, and now my newest and favorite game I'm playing now, Dragon Age Inquisition. Star Citizen was never going to be an overnight project. Star Citizen was never going to be a project that was going to see an end in Chris Roberts' eyes. I can tell you this, there have been disappointments that I've had along the way. Disappointments like when the Arena Commander first came out and how bad it was. When version 1.0 came out and how impossible it was to get on and actually have a match that was worth anything. And now how the first-person shooter, which is not even my favorite part of what this game is going to be about, has held up development of all other pieces of the game. So I need to step back from this and just ask those people that are naysayers right now, because I'm not the fangirl that people make me out to be. It's true, I have a relationship with Ben that's, you know, better than acquaintance and not as good as a good friend yet, but I could see that building. And I have a relationship with Sandy that again is better than relationship, but I could see it building into a friendship at some time. But I also have my opinions on how this game was going to go from the start, and I looked past what they were saying, and I tried to formulate in my head a real date, which for me was early 2017, for this game to be out, and it was because of how grand it was. The way I expected it to go is that we would get Squadron 42 and a bunch of missions, or second, like maybe the second and third tier of that game, and then we would get Star Citizen, because Star Citizen is building something that's never been done, something that's grand, and something that we all that are totally obsessed with this game want. Do I think it's in the right hands? Well, I had to look back. So again, I'm not going to trash Derek Smart. It's very easy to do that from a perspective of me trying to protect those that I like and that I've come to respect at CIG. So I'm going to say, Derek, thank you for opening up the community's eyes to what could go wrong. I think that your blog poses an issue for people that are so obsessed they can't see both sides. But I think as an eye-opener, as someone that's pointing out the things that could go wrong, I applaud you. But I wish you would do it in a way that wasn't so doom-saying, so the sky is falling, sky is falling. So let's go to my disappointments aside. And like I said, this might be a little bit of a opinion piece. This is not going to be a news piece. But this is going to be how I feel about where development of the game is now. I think it's in the hands of the right person. I think Chris Roberts, when I talk to him, when I'm around him, when I had the opportunities, many opportunities, to stand there next to him, I get the feeling that he's a great visionary. Now, I work for a company that had one of the greatest visionaries in the history of computers, but that person had people around him. If you look at if you look at the executives in the company I worked for before, that I work for now, you will see some of the most amazing minds inside of the computer industry. I see Chris Smith, I see David Haddock, I see Ben, who is one of the hardest workers in the industry right now, because he's not just the senior director in charge of community engagement, but he's also one of the main developers, meaning he's not doing coding, he's developing what the game should be. I look at this from the perspective of maybe what's going on here is people don't walk through CIG like I did and see what's going on and see the interaction and feel the passion there. It is true people left, and people leave for all different reasons. I know why Eric left, and that I'll keep to myself, because I find that Eric, I call him a friend too and support him. But it's not what you all think. I know why Rob left and other people left. Chris wants his lieutenants where he is. The issue is Chris is in Santa Monica, and the games industry was in Austin, where he got most of the people from the beginning. So he lost a lot of people in the beginning that weren't going to move from Austin to Santa Monica. Today, I look at the attrition that's going on, like the Travis Days and Alex Mayberry's. Well, Blizzard has a new project and opened up the positions of a lifetime. The one thing that Travis was waiting for, and he got it. The games industry is and this is what I've found from doing my research, it's a very volatile place. It's a very dynamic place. People are at one company, they move to another. And it is mostly because when you're in a company, the positions that are higher up are hard to move into. And the positions of being able to be like an executive take a long time to get to. So when a position opens up at another company that's higher than yours, you tend to move. So you get this very dynamic existence in the industry where people leave a project, they go to another one, then they come back to the project that they were working on before, or they'll leave a company, go to another one, and then come back to the company that they left at a higher level. That's just the way it is. Do I think this game is going to come out next year? Absolutely not. And if it did, I think that every single one of us would hate it. But we have to look at the other pieces of it. What has CIG done wrong? What has CIG done right? And how do we keep our confidence in them? Well, the first thing I think that they did wrong might be this engine, right? This engine, the CryEngine, is amazing. It's beautiful and everything, but it was held by a company that was in financial despair, and it's an engine that's not used as wide openly as other engines like Unreal 4, which wasn't done at the time of Chris's plans to start this venture. I think had they been using Unreal 4, they would have been further along because there is a 64-bit version, and there's many games that have already used it and started to build the technology for it. When you look at Batman and Tomb Raider and a whole bunch of others, that was great. But we're here now, which leads us to what they've done right. They've pretty much hired away about 60 to 75% of CryEngine and brought them into their Frankfurt office that is part of Foundry 42. And that's a good thing, because now they have the people that know how to make this world, how to make it happen, and they're starting to work forward. Alright, next piece. What did they do right? They clearly defined what they wanted to do with the game in the beginning. And that was cool. That was the right thing to do. Chris got up there and made you all feel gushy about remembering the days of Wing Commander and Star Wars and trying to put an MMO and that feeling together. What did they do wrong? They let it get out of hand with stretch goals by adding more and more and more things. Should have kept it to Squadron 42 and the premise of the game coming after it, instead of making Star Citizen the tip of the spear and Squadron 42 the tail. And what's going on with this and why this is wrong is because now you're putting the tail first. You have most people that are crowdfunding this game interested, I mean most people, I mean like the majority, the overwhelming majority are interested in Star Citizen, which is great. That's the piece I want also. But Star Citizen is coming out later, and it always was going to come out, and they were always going to have this technology building time. So by putting the tail before the spear, the 3/4 to 4/5 to 7/8 of the population of this game are being left behind in development, and they are going to have to wait for something they don't want out first to come out in order to see something they do want first. So people like Derek Smart could take advantage of that and start pointing out how this game is falling behind. And like I said, I'm still staring at the same freaking hangar I've been staring at for about a year, still doing the same thing, still unable to have my friends here, so let's talk about me not being happy, right? I'm not. But it's only because they made those things an issue. They made the promises that they shouldn't have made. Do I feel like this game is going to get made? Well, every time I talk to anyone at CIG, anyone, I always get that feeling that they're always happy and things are working. But behind the scenes that there are people that are always dissenting, right? That are always upset. Things aren't going their way. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had departures from the company for no reason, right? And I think that the way that this game has shifted gears both into high gear and low gear have really set people back too. But I want to remove us from this, okay? In 2016, or is it 2017? It's either Christmas 2016 or Christmas 2017. We're going to get the next Mass Effect. We know they've been working on this since just after development on Mass Effect 3 wrapped up. We don't see any pictures, we don't see any in-game footage, we don't hear what the storyline's going to be, we don't see an asset at all, right? Nothing. But we know that it's going to be another 2 years. And probably that it's been in development for 2. Well, the problem with Star Citizen is that we do see it all. And it draws us in, and they sell us ships, and they show us ships, and they sit here, and then we go out into Arena Commander and play them until we're bored as hell with it, right? That's the problem with this game, is that they're in the point where development is going to be to a crawl. Because major pieces of the game need to come out. Do I have confidence they're going to come out? Let me tell you, it's not like my confidence hasn't been broken a few times. Most recently with the setback of the FPS, causing the setback of version 2.0, causing the setback of all the things that I thought were coming, that I reported on here. Pirate Swarm, which is now done by the community, about ships coming into the hangar. I mean, how many times has this ship been reworked, right? And a lot of this was because the cart was before the horse, okay? So now The horse, people, is Squadron 42. That's the horse. The cart is the ass end and the cart. Come on. It's Star Citizen. Set your eyes on Squadron 42. That'll be out. I'm not confident anymore it will be out for Christmas. In fact, if it comes out for Christmas, it's a divine intervention thing. I think that there's no way with where they are right now that this is going to be out for Christmas. But that's what we have to set our sights on. And then just waiting patiently, which is hard because we've put so much money, $2,500 for me, and some people $25,000 and more. This is going to be a huge game. It's a huge endeavor. It's a huge undertaking. And maybe if Chris came back and started to do his 10 for the chairman and answer some of the questions and show off more of what's going on internally with the botched up FPS shooter, which I don't think it's botched up. I think they're having technical difficulties they're going to get through. Would that regain your confidence? I stepped back from this rant because my confidence is regained just from being able to talk to people there from time to time. They're dedicated, they're moving forward. David Haddock, the person that's written all of Squadron 42's, along with Will and some other people, but the head writer, the lead writer, is still with them. Chris's vision is still there. Chris Smith is still there. You still have Ben. And you still have many of the people like Forrest that are working on this project. As long as the key people stay, and they point to Alex Mayberry as being key. I think that Travis Day was more key than he was, because when it comes to producers are the people that get things done. They're the foremen. They're not the skilled laborer down in the project getting things done, and they're not the visionary. They're the people that the visionary says, all right, that Chris says, all right, this is what they're working on. We need to meet these deadlines and get it done. So when you look at these things about who's leaving, yeah, it's worrisome. Jenny Varner was going to be a content manager and she left the company. I didn't know that until I read Derek Smart's blog. But there really isn't a job for a content manager right now, not until Star Citizen comes out in a couple of years, right? So again, cart before the horse. But she was a good find and would have been a great find. Who knows? Maybe she comes back when the game goes live. You'll never know. But those positions need to be filled later. Right now, game development is what should be on their mind, and that's it. So how do they fix this? In my opinion, what can they do for the community to placate them? No, that's not what I'm going to say. But to give us something to do while we're waiting. Well, they have assets. They proved it. And they have assets like the asteroid hangar that we were getting to play around, the one that's in the tutorial. Put it back in free space, put it back in one of the game modes, whatever it might be. And let's get that in there ASAP. Give us another couple of maps or another couple of game types inside of Arena Commander. Give us something to do, something more to test the game, something to make us be in there to help you get feedback. And start showing real things on the segments on ATV. Like when we want ship shape, we don't care if the ship is going to change 50, 75, 100 times between now and when it's released. Give us an idea of what's going on. Show us. When you show things, it's going to make people regain confidence in you. Let us see what's going on. A true behind-the-scenes look at what's going on there. It's one of the things that's missing since Eric left and stopped doing his little nose cam inside of his wingman's hangar. We need more interaction like that. We want to know. We're investors. And we're the people that are making this project happen, possible, work. And you know what? I want to know about the failures too. Because sometimes they're fun to see, and sometimes you never know who in the community is going to be able to help you. I love that the community is so interactive, but I'm kind of shocked then they're not latching on to them in the way that they have in the past. There's so many things that the community helped to write, like the freelancer, the ramp in the back, like flight models of different ships and weapons, characteristics. It's things that we do. We're taking part, we're taking ownership in this game. Not just CIG, but us too. And I think it's time that they start to trust that those of us that have given the money have not just given money. We've given our hearts and souls, our confidence, our trust in you. So let us have some back. So the Derek Smarts don't take over the community and start making The Sky is Falling being the number one thing people think of when they think of Star Citizen, instead of what that feeling was that Chris conveyed in the original trailer, the original teaser video. I want Star Citizen to come out. And again, I'm not going to let myself be taken advantage of, to be fooled, to be made a pawn. And, it makes me think what Derek Smart was talking about of a movie or a play called The Producers. They went out and sold 1,000% of a show. And even if that show was successful, they were never going to be able to pay the investors. So they set out to make something that sucked and would fail immediately. It was a funny movie. It was a funny remake of a movie, and it was an even funnier to see it live on Broadway. I don't think Star Citizen is The Producers. I think Star Citizen is going to be the first really big game of our history, of our gaming history, of our gaming lives. I think that we're going to love it. I think it's going to wow us, but I don't think it's coming out tomorrow. I don't think it's coming out this year or next year. I think it's still a ways off. I still think it's 2 years off. Sorry guys, I wish it was closer, but that's my opinion. If you guys have any comments about this, I'm going to start reading deeper into the whole controversy of Derek Smart and CIG. Obviously, CIG has made their statement by removing... I didn't read about that going in there. Sorry about that. Obviously, CIG has made their statement about how they feel about this by removing Derek Smart from the RSI website and refunding back his Kickstarter pledge. But that's all I'm going to leave with until I actually get an opportunity to talk to Ben and get him on our show and tell us what he might want to tell us about this. I think my best opportunity would not be to put Ben up against the wall and talk to him about Derek Smart, but instead talk to him about the game development, where we are, and how we get from where we are now to where we want to be in 2 years with playing this game. Guys, I am so sorry about the length of time that this might have gone. My rants are usually not this long. But this is a very important subject to talk about because there's so much going on in this game world right now that, in the Star Citizen world, that we really have to dissect and pull apart the things that are setting us back and talk about the things that really make sense, right? CIG isn't doing everything right. What company does? But what things are they doing right that give us confidence? And what things are they doing wrong that we as a community can effectively, maturely, and I don't want us to beat them up, but I want us to hold them accountable, right? You have my money. Use it wisely. Get it done. And I think that henceforth, what I want them to do is if there's anything that's spent on things that are supposed to be after the game goes live, that's something I don't think that they need to do right now. Like content managers. I think right now what they need to do is just focus on getting the game out. And that includes Squadron 42 that I know is coming. I mean, we all know that will be here within the next 11 or 12 months. My guess is Easter time of next year will be when we're seeing the Squadron 42 campaign released. And then a year after that will probably be when we start seeing pieces of Star Citizen going live for the first time. All right, folks, thank you so much for the time to let me rant. I have decided this will not be Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous in the middle of that. This is just going to be a state of the game. And look for me to have a Ben's Day this week where I try to get some answers from Ben. Now, understand that subjects of this type are going to be answered in a way that all corporations would answer them. And that's answering them from the protecting their legal standpoint. Because Derek Smart has asked for legal action against them from the FTC and threatened to sue them and all sorts of other things, I'm sure I'm going to get a very vanilla answer to most of the questions about Derek Smart, which is why I think I need to shade away from them, because that's all they can do. I work for a big corporation and nobody can ask anybody about things that are going into the legal system or potentially can. So we're not going to find a lot of information that way. So what I want is for you to look at it from the perspective of what things can you ask them that have come from the Derek Smart controversy that we could have them answer. And those things will be around the development cycle, around people leaving, and around how they can rebuild their confidence, how they can rebuild our confidence in them, and how they can make us feel more at ease when spending more money on the game. Let me tell you, it was hard to get the coffee mug the other day. Very hard. I've spent so much money on this game, and had I not destroyed my other coffee mug, I probably wouldn't have bought one. It's kind of stupid, right? I could have just gone to Starbucks and gotten one, but I went to Star Citizen website and got one instead. Oh, that's new. Right? Is that new? I don't remember seeing that extension before. Oh god, I must have not been on my Phoenix for probably about 3 months now. 4 months. I've had it inside my hangar below my floor. Haven't loaded it because I just absolutely hate this heaven can wait inside of it. Alright guys, I am starting to rant. I'm starting to babble. That's about all I have today for this episode of State of the Game. And with that said, you all be safe out there. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. The music you heard was from Matt Foss's Star Citizen-based album, Forward Reflections, which can be found by clicking the link below. Sorry about the audio quality in this video. I recorded it on my PC. I tend to get so much better audio by recording it on my Mac. If anyone has any suggestions on how to clean up my audio while recording in-game, please leave them below. Again, thank you, and you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.